Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Former presidential spokesperson Roque surfaces in the United Arab Emirates, confirming reports he has left the country. Roque is being investigated by the Justice Department for qualified human trafficking in connection with the illegal POGO operations. The House of Representatives has also ordered Roque's detention for failing to submit before the Quad Committee documents pertinent to its investigation into POGO. But for more than 2 months, Roque's whereabouts remained unknown until he surfaced in the UAE. In his virtual press conference, Roque said his counter-affidavit, notarized at the Abu Dhabi consulate, was filed by his lawyers at the DOJ. Again, he denied the allegations. Let's get on point with Prosecutor General Richard Fadullon, who joins us on the line. PG Fadullon, good evening. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, Pinky. Good evening to all your listeners and televiewers.
So, Attorney Roque had filed his counter-affidavit that was notarized in a Philippine consulate in Abu Dhabi last November 29. PG, could you run us through the process by which an individual has to file a counter-affidavit and needs it to be notarized abroad? What actually happens in a situation like that?
Well, the rule during investigations, Pinky, we normally require the presence of the respondents so that the prosecutor can actually examine and ascertain whether or not they are the ones who actually executed the affidavit when they signed it and submitted it to the prosecutors conducting the investigation. In this particular case, since the whereabouts of Attorney Roque is not known, and it turns out that he was abroad, then the next thing that he should do is have it notarized before a Philippine consul, no? in our embassy, for us to consider it as being part of the investigation done in the Philippines. So apart from having it notarized there, if these documents are supposed to be submitted to the panel of prosecutors conducting the investigation in the Philippines, it should be at least apostilled, no? Just to ascertain that it was really, that in fact it was actually notarized before the Philippine consul. Now, in the case of Attorney Roque, what we received, or what the panel reported to have received, was an affidavit which bore the signature of the Vice Consul of Abu Dhabi.
And should that suffice?
Well, that would be enough for us, no? If, for example, we're able to ascertain that in fact it is true that he did appear before the Philippine consulate in Abu Dhabi, and that's what we're trying to ascertain, because the document that were submitted to us just bore the stamp and the signature of the Vice Consul. We're trying to ascertain whether or not this is a genuine and authentic document, no? Because we really do not know where it was, where Roque was at the time that it was notarized in Abu Dhabi.
So I guess what you're saying is that at this point it is necessary for the panel of prosecutors to maybe contact or ascertain or verify from the Vice Consul if indeed Attorney Roque was there in the consulate.
That is correct. That is correct. And that is the reason why the panel opted to have a hearing purposely to clarify this matter. They are going to get in touch with the consulate in Abu Dhabi, no, through our DFA. Although there was, I think, a statement that was already released confirming the fact that he did appear before the consulate and that they entertained and assisted him when he had his document or his counter-affidavit notarized.
Then it's verified.
Yes, it's verified. Okay. But just the same, that's a statement that came, we want it to be something official. Mm-hmm. We cannot rely solely on the pronouncement made by Attorney Roque that he did appear. We'd want to be able to do the validation ourselves, and that is what the panel of prosecutors will do.
And how do you plan to do this? Is it going to be via the
Arrangements.
DFA?
Yes, yes, we will be making arrangements. The panel has been making arrangements now to try and contact and get in touch with the vice consul who actually notarized the document to ascertain from him if it's in fact the necessary documents were presented, like a valid passport was presented to show that it was really Mr. Harry Roque or Attorney Harry Roque who was present and subscribed before them.
So there should be, okay, first, sir, is that the verification still needs to happen to be able to ascertain the veracity or maybe authenticity of what was submitted before the panel of prosecutors.
Yes.
That shouldn't be so hard to do.
Yes, that will not be so difficult to do, except that we have to go through channels in doing it. So it's not a matter where we can directly get in touch with the consul.
I see. Hindi po ganun
so
yun.
we're making arrangements.
You can't
Oo.
just, call the vice consul and verify this and, get an official statement via hard copy.
Yes. Yes, yes. We had to get the confirmation, and we had to pass through the channel of through the DFA, and then make that arrangement to be able to talk to the vice consul who actually notarized the document.
Who is the vice consul?
I forget the name. I think it's Gomez, no? The
Gomez.
surname is Vice Consul Gomez. That was the one that appeared in the
Okay.
counter affidavit that was submitted.
Because I do recall Attorney Harry Roque saying if there are questions on this, that you can even find out, or the ambassador there could ascertain his presence during that counter affidavit notarization, sir. How long do you think till the panel of prosecutors get a verification on this?
Well, arrangements are already being made, Pinky. Remember that the counter affidavit of Attorney Harry Roque was only submitted by his lawyers yesterday. And that was when we were able to find out, based on the documents submitted, that it was notarized before a vice consul in Abu Dhabi. So they're making arrangements already, with the Department of Foreign Affairs to try and find out, not necessarily to talk to the ambassador, but to check with the person who actually did the notarization. So it would be Vice Consul Gomez who would be the most competent person who would be able to answer whatever questions the panel may have.
PG, you mentioned the passport upon, why is the passport, is a passport rather necessary when you attest to a counter affidavit?
Yes, if I'm going to base it on the notarization that we do, there has to be proof of a document to show that the person who's actually making or the one who executed the affidavit is really the same person. There has to be proof, as shown by any official document or public document, such as a passport, an ID. And since he is abroad, or they claim that he is abroad, the best document would be the passport. The other thing is also
Sorry,
to
sir.
ascertain...
I'll cut you. I need to cut you there. You said the best document
Yes.
would be a passport. But will an
Yes.
ID be okay? An official ID?
Not necessarily an official ID, because considering that would have been... He was here in the Philippines, but remember that he was abroad at the time that the alleged counter affidavit was submitted and
Okay.
notarized before the consulate of Abu Dhabi.
PG, it's important to really ascertain if he must submit the passport. I'm saying that, sir, because if the passport was submitted or shown, but then I guess there's a follow-up to that. It is within that passport that you will see any immigration clearances. Kumbaga, kung kailan lumabas at pumasok si Attorney Harry Roque via, obviously using that passport, sir.
Yes, that is correct. But for purposes of identification, I think the consulate would only rely on the entries. Normally, the first page of the passport,
I
which
see.
has the personal identification.
Apo.
So I think that's what they'll rely on, and they will not be examining
Yeah.
the travel documents, no, the other travel records that Harry Roque may have.
Para po siyang immigration official, titingnan po
Yes,
yung
yes.
mga
Hindi
papel.
naman sa immigration.
They won't go that far. Okay. Once it is verified though that it was really Attorney Harry Roque, is there still going to be a need for him to appear personally or submit additional documents?
Well, it all depends on the results of the clarificatory hearing. I was informed by the panel just before, just tonight, that the lawyers of Harry Roque were informed that the panel had intended to conduct a clarificatory hearing. The clarificatory hearing, among others, would be delve into matters pertaining to the notarization and at the same time matters pertaining to the defenses that were raised in his counter affidavit.
Okay.
So the panel would be correct in trying to ascertain documents, to ascertain certain facts that were alleged in the counter affidavit of Attorney Harry Roque.
And very clearly, sir, and for the record, there's no arrest warrant on Attorney Harry Roque coming from, well, definitely wala pa hong kaso sa panel of prosecutors. What is happening right now is pinag-aaralan pa ho itong reklamo. It's a complaint,
Yes.
di ho ba? And there's no
Yes.
there's no arrest warrant. But, sir, there is an arrest warrant coming from the House of Representatives. So I guess I wanted to find
That's
out,
correct.
because there is a standing, please correct me if I'm wrong, a standing warrant of arrest issued by the House of Representatives, should the consul or the vice consul or the ambassador have informed Philippine authorities about the whereabouts of Attorney Harry Roque?
Yes, actually, we would have expected them to do that because they know, while you're correct, Pinky, in saying that there is no case in court yet, which has been filed as against Attorney Harry Roque. What the panel of prosecutors is doing is still conducting the preliminary investigation. But we should also remember that there was a citation in contempt made by the House during its probe, and the warrant for the arrest of Attorney Harry Roque was issued. Now, this is a matter which is known to the public and which would have been known by almost everybody, and we wonder actually why we got wind of the fact that he had appeared in Abu Dhabi only after the submission of the counter affidavit without any notification or any notice coming from the embassy telling us that he was in fact there, knowing for a fact that, people are looking for him here in the Philippines.
So there had been, at the least you're saying, a shortcoming from the embassy.
Yes, we would have expected at the very least that the information should have been volunteered or given to us, knowing that there are cases which are pending investigation. Also, out of courtesy to the fact that there is a warrant that was issued by the House conducting the probe on the POGO,
Okay.
conducting the probe on POGOs.
But, PG, is there any legal basis to arrest him?
Well, there would be legal basis for because there is a contempt. Like I said, there was he was cited in contempt by the House, and that would be basis for him to be apprehended. Okay. Although there is no case, there's no criminal case. It's a different matter if it was a warrant of arrest issued by the House of Representatives conducting its own investigation. So on that score, I would say there would still be basis to actually arrest him.
So if that is the case, why wasn't that done?
That is a matter which I think would be best addressed to the embassy, no? Because I do not know how anybody can feign not having any knowledge of the fact of
Ignorance.
things that are going on.
Yeah.
Yes, you cannot feign ignorance and say that we did not know. For one, Attorney Harry Roque is a public figure. He was a former spokesperson, and that they know that there were investigations that were being conducted by the House, Quadcom, on this matter. And I think it was publicly also announced that because of his repeated failure to heed the invitations made by the Quadcom, and that was the reason why he was cited in contempt. similar to other cases of other people who were subject of investigation also by the House on the POGO investigations.
So very clear to you, sir, that he should have been at least detained at the embassy
At the
or
very
the
least,
consulate.
yes, at the very least, there would have been basis already. There would have been basis already to actually hold him and at least inform the Philippine authorities of the fact that he was in the embassy, see, and probably sought guidance on what could have been done or what would have been done if, for example, they had given the information that he was already outside of the country.
Prosecutor General Richard Fadullon, sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Pinky. My pleasure.
We'll be taking a short break. When we return, we'll talk to immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval. Please stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back. The Immigration Bureau is looking at filing charges against former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque for leaving the country through illegal means. But the Immigration Bureau itself is being called to task for failing to detect Roque's departure and that of other personalities facing investigations in the country. Let's get on point with immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval. Ma'am Dana, good evening. Welcome to the show and thank you so much for your time.
Good evening. Magandang gabi po, Miss Pinky.
Okay, so Attorney Harry Roque had his counter affidavit notarized in a Philippine consulate in Abu Dhabi last November 29. Any record of when he left, ma'am?
Miss Pinky, sa records ng immigration, when we checked our records, he has no recorded recent attempts to leave the country via official or formal channels. Ito yung mga channels that are being manned by immigration personnel. So these are the airports, the seaports, the border crossing stations where immigration personnel are stationed. So naniniwala po tayo, we believe that he left through illegal means, possibly being aided by unscrupulous individuals.
Illegal means, would that include airstrips?
That's a possibility, Miss Pinky. There are a lot of possibilities on how he was able to depart the country, and that's why we are trying to get to the bottom of this, of course, with the help of the Philippine Embassy in Abu Dhabi, which will serve as a starting point, I guess, in getting the information and starting the investigation.
So you start from there and then you backtrack.
That's right, Miss Pinky.
Almost like what happened to Alice Guo, parang ganun po.
In a way, it's similar, but the difference is in the case of Alice Guo, we are able immediately to file a deportation case against her for misrepresentation because there is evidence that she is holding a different citizenship other than the Filipino citizenship. But in the case of Harry Roque, he is a Filipino national who left the country illegally. So, hindi immediate yung immigration case. There's no immigration case that can cover this violation because immigration law essentially covers foreign nationals only.
Ma'am Dana, there's no record. What was the last record that you have of Attorney Harry Roque leaving the country? Or even maybe domestically?
Domestically, we do not have those records because those are internal. But for those leaving the country, that's what we have. His recent travel was back in July of this year. He flew in from Los Angeles. And then from that point on, there was no other attempts to leave the country. No other recorded attempt.
None in October?
None in October.
You know, I asked also domestically, I know that's not really part of the immigration job, no? But it's also, is there such a thing as coordinating or finding out domestic travel as well? Because domestic can eventually lead to other things,
Yes,
other flights.
Yes, understandable, Miss Pinky. As we are backtracking or following his footsteps in understanding how he left the country, we have received several leads
Right.
on his the path that he has taken. But siguro it's too early for me to disclose those leads. He might have taken domestic trips in general. Maybe I can just say that might have taken domestic trips and have not left via the main airports here in Manila.
Would it be probably up north?
I am unable to say at this.
Okay, but it's an airstrip.
Too early to tell,
Okay.
too early to confirm. Once siguro we get information from Abu Dhabi, then we would be able to get a better lead and to be able to
Right.
confirm how he left the country.
Because you're saying that, Ma'am Dana, because once you get information in Abu Dhabi, it will show you records of his entry to well, UAE. Tama ho
Yes,
ba? Sa
hopefully
UAE.
hopefully po may copy ito ang embassy natin in UAE when he took his oath there, when he had his document notarized. We are hoping that they have a copy of the documents that he presented, perhaps his passport, perhaps his itinerary. I understand the DFA already released a statement as to the legality of former spokes Harry Roque's stay in UAE, but we are more concerned about, on how, what method or what
Mode.
mode of transportation he took. Kasi we believe that it's not a direct trip, maybe from the Philippines to Abu Dhabi. He might have taken a connecting flight, or he might have went on a layover in an Asian country.
Yeah, but if you do a layover, for example, just for looking at the possible scenarios here, if you do a private plane, hindi ho ba, you're
Yeah.
still gonna go to an Asian country. And from that Asian country, dapat may entry point ka, hindi ho ba? You have to be cleared by their immigration bureau, and your passport has to be stamped. And then from there on, you go to the United Arab Emirates, and then again, you need to be stamped. That's why you're saying you want to start from the UAE, because that's what you know so far where he is. Tapos, to backtrack. Has there been any formal request from, I'm sure you said you were getting leads from any countries where he possibly entered prior to the United Arab Emirates?
We have already requested information from the embassy, as well as the United Arab Emirates through back channels. We will also be requesting formally from their immigration to get the flight manifest, or the manifest of the seacraft, or whatever mode of transportation he took to UAE. And from there, we would be backtracking to see how he left the country. We believe that it might be recent, perhaps in the last month, that he was able to leave the country, because most countries allow, particularly Asian countries, most Asian countries allow Filipinos to stay for 30
30
days,
days.
of them not more than 30
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
So we're looking at that time frame
Yeah,
as well.
but that's the thing, Ma'am Dana. There still has to be an immigration clearance in that Asian country.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
which countries are you possibly looking at?
The nearest one, siguro, we will start with the nearest ones. But since we already have one confirmed country, which is the United Arab Emirates, we will be backtracking from there. Um, the good thing about our coordination with our foreign counterparts is that we have a very strong connection and coordination with them, and it's easier for us to be able to verify information about travels of Filipinos, or wanted suspects going to their countries.
Is he a wanted suspect?
Not at this time, Miss Pinky. Actually, he has no whole departure order. He has no warrant of arrest in our record. All he has right now, up until now,
Okay.
actually
It's
is
a lookout.
yes,
Yeah,
is a
lookout
look.
bulletin.
The lookout bulletin is not a reason to hold him or arrest him. It's an order for personnel to monitor his travels.
But because he has a warrant of arrest from the House of Representatives, that does not flag the Bureau of Immigration on, well, I know he has a lookout bulletin, but to what extent can the BI go in terms of an individual having been issued an arrest warrant from the House or the Senate?
If there is an arrest warrant issued against him, then we can put it in our database for him to be stopped if intercepted at the airports or at the seaports. If, for example, he's already out of the country and there is a warrant issued against him, halimbawa, a warrant is issued against him tomorrow, we would be able to tap the Interpol and
Okay.
share this information on them, the Interpol community, to help us in locating him outside the country.
There's a statement made by Senator Risa Ontiveros. She actually said, I expect the BI, along with other law enforcers, to identify who helped Attorney Harry Roque escape undetected. The BI has a lot of explaining to do. Even the escape of Go Waping to Indonesia, wala rin daw pong sagot. Nagkukulang ho ba ang Bureau of Immigration, ma'am?
Pinky, in a perfect world, immigration would be able to cover the entire archipelago. Yan yung lagi nating sinasabi. In a perfect world, kaya nating bantayan lahat ng islands in the Philippine archipelago. But we accept that we have limitations, and immigration personnel are only posted in formal channels, airports, seaports, as well as border crossing stations. Very similar yung setup sa ibang bansa. There are areas that are being utilized or being abused rather by individuals for illegal border crossing. And siguro isa ito sa mga indicators or isa ito sa similar cases with that there are areas in each country that may be abused by people who want to cross borders illegally. So that's why we also are seeking the help and assistance of local law enforcement as well as LGUs to monitor and report to us any suspicious activities in areas that are not covered by immigration. Halimbawa, those private airstrips, private properties, resorts, kagaya nung binabanggit ni Alice Guo, private areas, mga by dagat, mga beach resorts that are not manned
Right.
24/7 by immigration personnel where
Actually, they're not,
immigration
Ma'am
personnel
Dana,
have
they're
no
not manned by immigration officials.
and it's
They're not
impossible.
manned at all.
Quite
Di ho
frankly,
ba?
Quite frankly, it's impossible for immigration to be able to man even the private resorts, private airstrips.
Right.
That's why it's really a joint effort
Okay.
with the local law
Right.
enforcement in
So
monitoring these areas.
siguro, Ma'am Dana, because that would be what we could call the weakest link, no, of the Bureau of Immigration, such as you were saying, beach resorts and such that actually use, you know, private airstrips to land their planes and leave. Ano po? Maybe there has to be something done in the near future so that there is better coordination of and monitoring of the people coming in and going out of these abused, possibly abused airstrips.
Well, Miss Pinky, apart from closer coordination with local law enforcement and police, our legal team have also studied this since Commissioner Viado instructed our legal team to study what cases can be filed against former spokesperson Roque for illegally leaving the country. And one thing that our legal team has noted is that there is no specific law covering Filipino nationals illegally exiting the country. Our immigration laws deal with foreign nationals that are illegal entrants
Okay.
in the Philippines or does evades immigration
Right.
inspection. But there is no specific law in the Philippines penalizing, criminalizing illegal departure of Filipinos. Unlike in other countries, when they did their research, other countries have
A law
sanctions,
on that.
they have
Yeah.
law, they have penalties, they have jail time for their nationals who try to evade the security checks, who try to leave the country
Okay.
already. This is very important, Miss Pinky, because if there is such a law, um, if we find that a person has illegally left the country, we can file a case against that individual, have a warrant of arrest issued because the evidence is very clear that he has left the country illegally, and be able to secure the help of Interpol without having to wait for other
Yeah.
warrants of arrests, whole departure orders, and such
Yeah.
from other cases filed
In
against
other
them.
words, in situations like this, your hands are tied.
Kailangan ng teeth. That there
Maram-
are not more teeth.
Okay. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Dana Sandoval. Thank you po for your time.
Salamat po and good evening.
And that's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.